Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back for another live episode of the Change What We Normalize podcast. I'm excited to be back. I'm really enjoying these live stream episodes where people can actually interact. It's been really dope. Our last episode with Chris Johnson, we had the whole live stream thing going on and had her clients engaged and all these other individuals engaged, and I really enjoyed it and loved it. So I want to keep that going. I think for the next few episodes, I'm going to continue to do that with my next few guests, especially the one today, who is incredible, who I would consider a friend of mine, a mentor, somebody who is doing incredible work in the lives of young men, which is really near and dear to my heart. If you know anything about my story, super near and dear to my heart. She is incredible. She is a prevention specialist. She is the founder of O.D.A.A.P, which is Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention. And she's just a myriad of other things, but all around just a woman of Christ, someone who is after God's own heart, and someone who is doing incredible work in the community and very empowering work. And I look forward to bringing her on the Change What We Normalize podcast. Next, we have Valencia Peterson. I like to call her Coach V. Everybody calls her Coach V. So as our community here at the Change What We Normalize podcast, we're going to call her Coach V. So she's coming on next on the Change What We Normalize podcast. Hey, what's going on, Coach V?
Hey, I like that beat. It was hitting.
Right. I had to keep it a little bit like hip hop, a
Yeah,
little,
like
you know what I
that.
mean? I had to
Yeah.
keep it that way, but they did a really good job with that. But I'm excited to have you here. Thank you
Yes, yes, yes.
for taking some time out your day this morning just to join me.
I appreciate being here, honestly. I do. I do. Really do. Thank you
Nice.
for that intro, though. I heard it. It was very, very kind of you.
Nah, that was like a short version. I could have went on and on. To be honest, I could have went on and on. But now I'm glad to have you here. Just for this brief time, and we met. It wasn't that long ago, actually. To be honest, when we met, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was over at Clubhouse, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
Clubhouse. How do
Yeah,
you
that
like
was
that?
Clubhouse. We happened to be in a
Yeah.
room together, and I think from there we connected via Instagram, and from
Hmm.
there the relationship kind of grew.
Yeah.
The vibes were great, and then you brought me out to speak with your young men, which was incredible and kind of like life changing at the same time to be able to interact with them in person, but
Hmm.
not just interact and speak to them, but to hear and listen to them as well,
Yeah.
which I thought was super important to hear, their stories, hear what they're going through and feel their energy. And you get to do that every day, it seems like, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's
Yes.
that's your life over with
It
O.D.A.P.
is my
So
life. Yeah.
so before we jump into that, I want to give a little background, a little context on, who you are, who's Coach V, who were you before, I guess, Coach V. I think that's important because I like to always share on here, your story is about you, but it's not for you.
Hmm.
So I think it's super important that we always give the background of who we are, where we came from, how we developed into the individuals that we are today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want you to go ahead and share a little bit about that background about, who is Coach V and just life before O.D.A.P.
Yeah, yeah. So, first of all, I'm a mom of two beautiful girls, Lydia and Janae. I am married to the king of my castle for 35 years next month. Woo! Um, and we have been, you know, working, trying to hand down to our girls the value of family and the value of compassion and
Mm,
the value of loving others and doing well in all that you do, integrity. So I'm very humbled and thankful for the family that God has given me, and the support that my husband gives me is everything,
mm,
because as I've evolved into O.D.A.P and Coach V, he's been so supportive all the way. And I just love that I'm me and he's cool with that. There's no fit in this box, be this kind of wife. It's who you are, your talents, your God gift. Do what you need to do to fulfill your calling. And I love that he empowers me that way. So that's first and foremost. Starting O.D.A.P was not an intention that I had in my mind, but I was already working in domestic violence intervention because of my own past, where, um, you know, my mom was murdered by my dad,
Wow.
and I started working in domestic violence, and intervention, trying to help, women who were in situations they needed to get out. Like that was my first initial thing that I did. But I didn't do that right away. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
didn't do that right away because um, I strongly feel that you have to be able to be okay yourself before you walk into work like that. You know?
absolutely.
So I came into that work at a time where I felt like I was prepared to do it, but I started getting, this is not going to work because I'm behind the eight ball here. We need to get in front of this thing. I feel like I'm catching up all the time. And it hit me one day. I need to do prevention. I need to do
Wow.
prevention. I need to get to the people before this act happens. And because I was convinced that my dad didn't wake up that morning and said, "Today I'm going to kill my wife." I know that sounds harsh, but I don't
Wow.
think he did that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was a
absolutely.
lot of things that went on before he decided to do that. And if they had somebody like O.D.A.P or Coach V, right? They probably wouldn't have made that decision. They probably would have understood it was okay to deal with some mental stuff. It's okay to deal with stuff that's going on inside of you, and therefore, I started O.D.A.P, and where I started working with young men in particular. I ended up, and this was kind of interesting too, becoming a football coach. Coached at Penwood High School up until 3 months ago, honestly. Committed to
Really?
a
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I started coaching football because I was doing prevention through coaching boys into men, which is a Futures Without Violence curriculum. And I found myself on the sideline so much that the coaches just said, "Why don't you come on staff? You're here. Why don't you work with our players and just be on staff?" So I became Coach
Mm,
V, to all my players. And I love the game anyway. You know what I mean? And I learned more on the sidelines, and then I was able to start really doing a little bit more in depth as far as coaching football. So I did that, for the last 4 years, actually, coaching football and with one team. And just recently, about 3 months ago, I stepped down from being a dedicated coach to my team
mm,
because there was such a big need in Philly for O.D.A.P, two teams, that I felt like I needed to be committed. I need to get to more teams and reach more young men. So right now, as you know, you met my young men, some of them. I'm working with a group of young men from different teams, and it is amazing, a privilege, an honor, and very humbling to have them believe in me enough to be vulnerable and open. You saw it.
yeah, yeah.
You saw how they are. But that came with years of building relationships with them, building relationships. I don't think that a program, you got to do life with people, right? So that's why I feel strongly about quality over quantity. So,
Mm,
I'm in the trenches with my young men here in Philadelphia. I have a school in Delaware right now that I just acquired. The coach called me out there. So, um,
tell me a little more
I
about
can't
that.
I can't say enough about how proud I am of the coaches who call O.D.A.P in. Because if a coach calls O.D.A.P in, it's a real testament to their motivation to see something more for their players than winning a game. Because
Mm,
anytime O.D.A.P comes in on a team, the coaches are the ones that are first affected, then the kids. So the coaches have to be willing
mm,
to hear some things that normally, they probably wouldn't take thought of. I can't tell you how many teams that I've been a part of that the coaches have said, "Okay, my life has changed." I'm looking at me now. I need to do something a little different. But that's not for everybody. Trust and believe. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody. Not every coach wants a O.D.A.P in there on their team because verbal abuse is something we talk about, right? You could say the same thing to a kid and not have to degrade them or shame them. So
Amen.
a lot of coaches feel like, they're soft if we say that. No, they're not. It's really amazing. The players will say to me, Coach B, I don't know why they cursing like that. That doesn't work. But the coaches feel like they got to do that.
And that's because it happened to them.
Exactly. Everybody does what's been done to them, right? But it's interesting to see the player's perspective. Like on the sidelines, if I'm looking at a player and he's looking at me, I know exactly what he's thinking. Like, what's the point in doing all that?
Mm.
So
That's
I love what
deep.
I do. I love my women. I really love them.
Yeah. I can tell when I was there just how impactful you are because of the way that they flock to you, the way they
Yeah,
came,
yeah,
embraced you, you know,
yeah, yeah,
relationship right there. That isn't just I'm coming in with a program. That's
mhm.
this person loves me and cares about me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what this
yeah,
is, and while I was there for that short time, just to witness it, that's what I took from it. Outside of all of the X's and O's and programs and, the details of this and abuse and awareness and all this, the almost like the everything that was weaving it all together and keeping together was just love. It was like, this is very
exactly,
genuine love. Like, if you don't get
exactly,
nothing out of this, you're about to feel more love than you've probably ever felt. And that right
exactly.
there was life changing, in such a powerful way. And I seen the impact that that had, not just on the players, but the coaches that you worked with as well, and how they interacted with the players. Just having
Yeah,
the opportunity to talk to them one on one and kind of get their insights and all these different things. It's like I've developed as a coach, as a man, because of Coach V and her program coming in. Which is huge because you're not just impacting a player here and there. You're changing a whole culture of a
yes,
team, you know what I'm saying?
yes,
And a
yes.
lot of teams are the heartbeat of their community
Hmm.
as
Oh
well.
my God,
So
yeah. Their
the work,
school, their whole
oh yeah,
school.
oh,
Yeah,
the whole school. So it's like when you empower the team, it's like that changes so much, and it
it
has like
does.
this big ripple effect.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
why I applaud what you do, and it's inspirational to me in the work that I do, because I'm like, man, she came in with a laser focused vision, and executed and was obedient to the vision that God gave her. And she started small and she focused and locked in on this. You know what I'm saying? Because you deal directly with, if I'm not mistaken, football players.
Yeah, strictly, well, football, definitely. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So you haven't necessarily stretched yourself thin trying to do soccer, basketball, tennis, all these different, like, your lane, but because you know your lane and you're so focused in it, it's having impact all over the place. And that's
Mhm.
huge. And that's a lesson to somebody who, you have this vision, and it's like you want to spread it so thin and so broad, but it's like, what is God telling you to focus specifically on?
Right.
And you have literally lasered down, focused on, this is what this is. This is where I need to be. And you're making an incredible impact in that way. And I want to shift gears a little bit and kind of talk about the necessity for that level of kind of mentoring and advocacy for those young
Yeah.
men, like the necessity and the importance of it from what you've seen in your experience.
Well, you know, a program, in my opinion, should not be like a drive-through, like a McDonald's. You
Mm.
go get a little something that satisfies you for a little while, and then you're hungry again, right?
Right, right.
A program, I don't even like to be considered a program. I
Mm.
like for O.D.A.P to be seen as an organization that does life with you, a family that does
Oh, I
life with
love
you.
that.
And it's interesting. The young men in Delaware who are just
Mm.
recently acquired their school. Oh my gosh, you talking about somebody getting their roses beforehand? That team, oof, they're something special. All my teams are special, to be honest. But I was taken back about how quickly they embraced the whole concept of O.D.A.P. I just started with them this year, and it's like they've been my team for years. which is very
Mm,
interesting to me because in the city, you really have to earn respect. You have
facts.
to earn it. They look at you and go, oh, okay, you're here today. But then when you come back, and now we're on a year, and now we're on two, and now you've graduated, and I'm at your graduation, it's like, oh, no, this is my second mom. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a different level of investment. And because money, oh my gosh, let's not even talk about that because we're a nonprofit, right? We need to be funded just like anybody else. But because we focused in on quality over quantity, we stay, with one team or school for years. Even if we don't have the funds, we still can be with that school because now we got relationships now. It was never money driven to begin with. And if that's the case, then it can't be money driven to continue, right? Don't get me wrong. Every organization needs money, but it doesn't cost to get in your car and go visit a practice. You understand? Now, if you want to feed
Exactly.
them, that costs. But we can come up with a donation here from Giant, a donation for Acme, and do that too. Or I can find a person that's like, hey, you want to make a meal for my guys? The in-kind donations have been wonderful for O.D.A.A.P. But I say all this to say when it comes to building relationships, it's very time consuming. And so you really do want to put your efforts into something that cause quality and impact. Like we won't take a team if I know that a coach eventually is going to undo everything I came in there to do. I won't bother taking that team. I don't come to a lot of teams because coaches have to recommend a team to me. Coaches. Because coaches will say to me, Coach V, don't even go over there. They're not going to listen to anything you have to say. I listen. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going over there then.
Right.
Whatever my
Right.
coaches tell me is what I do because they know each other. It's a small community. They know each other. It's not worth it. I'm not going over there. But when I do get over to some place, I expect to put, stakes in the ground and be there for a while. And
Mm,
oftentimes when coaches move from one school to the other, they take O.D.A.P with them. And so that's
mm,
how we spread, believe it or not. That's how we spread. We don't spread because of an advertisement. We spread because a coach, you got like 10 coaches on one team easily. And then they get a position as a head coach or they go to another team as an offensive, a coordinator. And they're like, hey, you got to get O.D.A.P on this team. And that's how we really move. That's how we move.
wow.
We get to other teams. We don't just go, let me be on your team. No, you invite us in because if you invite us in, you invite a culture change. Some people like their culture.
Mm, true.
A
That's
culture
true.
change, you might O.D.A.P in. It's a culture change.
Wow.
Yeah,
Some
it's
people
a
don't want better. Yeah. Wow.
you know, some people like the way things are, even if it's toxic.
Mm,
Nothing you can do about that.
that's a
You
whole
know,
nother.
let's
Yeah.
not
That's
even
the
talk about
truth, though.
let's not even talk about being a black woman as a football coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
A
what was the
whole
pressure with that? Like,
oh
what was
my
the
God.
response to that?
Oh my God. It was interesting. I've gone to some coaches' clinics, and they didn't have any women bathrooms open. I said, why not? Where's the
Mm,
bathroom? They closed it all down. It was all men bathroom. I was like, why? You didn't think women would be here to learn football? I need once I got on the
mm,
sidelines, I know I needed to educate myself. So I started going to coaches' clinics to learn more about the game, the X's, the O's. But it was interesting how you're received. I remember being in a room and the general host, how patronizing are they? Oh my gosh. We have a lady in here, so we can't curse. I had to
mm.
say, excuse me, sir, I am a coach. Please take care of your business and teach up there, okay? But
Right.
they just I can tell you stories. That's a whole nother entity in my life. But and not to mention, it's a man dominated arena. Okay. So
Mm,
there's a lot
mm,
of
mm.
testosterone going
I
on
can
there.
only imagine
But
what that
whatever.
experience was like.
It's interesting. It's been interesting, It's been interesting, but it's been really worthwhile. Why? Because the relationships that I've built with my young men, the relationships that caused me to have calls in the middle of the night or, Instagram long conversations about this and that. how to treat my girl, or you know, different things that they need to talk about. Especially now in Philadelphia, it's a whole nother level of trauma,
Hmm.
whole nother level of trauma going on with my young men. So ODAP is a safe place. I always think of ODAP as the poppy store.
The
You know,
puppies.
you can't go to the grocery store in your hood. You understand what I'm saying? You can't go to the
Right.
grocery store in the hood, but you got Poppy on the corner. You can always go
Right.
down and get some bacon over there.
Oh,
A
that's
dozen.
fact.
That's ODAP.
Poppy store.
ODAP is like the Poppy store in the community. You know what I mean? We're there, like, wish I can go there. Yeah.
Now I love that. I love so something you said though, in regards to the trauma right now within the
Mhm.
community that you're in. How do or what are some action steps? Like what do we do to change the climate? Like what are some things that you're doing? You know what I'm saying?
I am
Specifically, like,
through ODAP. I am slowly, intentionally creating safety.
I like that.
Safety is a real thing right now. Safety. Self care and safety is a huge thing right now. That is the thing that's missing the most right now. No one feels safe. No one
Mm,
feels safe. And you want to, like I went to my team yesterday, one of my teams yesterday, I was at King, and the guys, they come around, and I was talking to them, you know, and one of my guys said, nobody cherishes life anymore.
mm,
Nobody cherishes life. It's nothing. Your friends die in front of you, you hold them in your arms and you move on, you know?
yeesh.
I looked at my guys and say, well, I cherish your life. That's why I'm here, you know?
Mm,
That's why I'm here to help you process this stuff. So I want to create safety, you know, in different ways, in different ways. Having that voice, having that person, having that place that they can turn to when they just
mm,
feel at their wits end, which is a big deal, which is a lot to it. But I want ODAP to feel safe to my young men. I want safety,
mm.
create safety mentally,
Wow.
emotionally, spiritually, and in some cases, physically.
Mm. And we talked a little bit about that too, about the physical part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
something
yeah, we
we're
talked
working on.
about that.
We're working on that. We're working on that.
Yeah, that safety and security is something different when you feel like you don't have to look over your back.
Oh my gosh. That's why that's why my young men love when I take them away for a couple of days. I take all my teams away for a couple of
Hmm.
days and to a camp where it's just woods and canoeing and everything. They're up at 2 o'clock in the morning playing manhunt or hide and seek. That I know it's hide and seek, really. They call it manhunt. Oh my gosh. Why not just hide and seek? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, they're playing hide and seek to 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, where I take them is pitch black. There is no street lights. So,
Mm.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're playing manhunt, and I'm just sitting there saying to myself, my kids, my boys get a chance to be kids right now. As a matter of fact, let me tell you this. As a matter of fact, when my young men come to my camp, the first thing I have them do, because they stay there overnight, a couple nights sometimes. The first thing I have them do is play therapy. They get off the bus. I tell them, I give them the rules and regulations of being at the camp because you're in my house now, right? And then the next thing I say to them after they pick their dorms is go play. It takes them at least 4 hours of play before they're regulated enough to sit down and hear anything I have to say. And that is
Mm.
the standard thing we do when I take my kids away. They have to play for 4 hours. And believe it or not, they do well at it. No video games. There's no video games where I take them. No TVs where I take them. They have to play. Literally, they play ball for hours. They play other games for hours. They go canoeing. They do all kinds of stuff. And after 4 hours, because that's how long it takes for their brain to regulate into a state where they're no longer in that fear, alert, terror stage, the red part of their brain. their brain goes from red to blue, but it takes 4 hours for that to happen. Now, blue brain is a blank brain. Oh, I don't have my. Oh, too bad. I could have shown you my thing here. I have this big board, this big piece of paper that I carry around. With one part of the brain is red and the other part is blue. Right now, the red is that feeling of terror, alert, always looking over your shoulders. On steroids, the brain on steroids. The blue part is the calm part of your brain. When my young men get off the bus, it takes 4 hours for that red part of the brain to turn blue so that they're calm and they feel like they're in a safe space. So with
Wow.
O.D.A.A.P, we're not doing just, we're doing a lot with them. We're doing trauma informed care, giving them tools to help regulate themselves, making them aware of things in their body. Like, it's much more than just a program in an organization. It's a culture change, it's a lifestyle, and it's getting them to understand what makes them tick. If this all makes sense. I mean, this is a lot. But let me back up and kind of put it all together. O.D.A.P is a violence prevention program with a trauma informed lens, helping young men and young people understand what makes them tick in order to give them the tools to help them regulate themselves and make better decisions. Okay. So that's what
Mm.
O.D.A.P is. Boom, like that. But we do it speaking their language wherever they are. So right now we're working with football teams. Do we work with other people? Sure, we do. As a matter of fact, we have a girls group now called I See You that I never intended to start. I
Wow.
I've never intended to do a girls group, but what happened was the football team in the school was getting the school culture was starting to change because the boys was like, don't do this to a girl. Respect, because I was teaching them respect, because once you know what's going on with you, you like, why I do what I did, I don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So as the young men understood themselves more and also understood what consent, what healthy relationships should look like, in that school, the culture started to change with the young men. The young men weren't fighting as much. There was a shift. So the girls noticed it and they was like, well, what about us? And for 3 months, this one girl just hounded me. What about us? What about us? I eventually felt guilty. I felt guilty and started a girls group. That wasn't really what all due respect, ladies, but I'm just saying, like, I wasn't going that way. I'm saying. But this ICU girl group is off the chain. They are soaring. These girls are soaring. Like, they blow me away. I mean, oh, they blow me away. Oh my gosh, I've been floored at how aggressive they have been with the program, and they love it. And now we're looking for mentors, but that's a whole nother story. But I'm just saying all this to say, with O.D.A.P, we're doing a lot more than just, a boys program. Don't look at us like that because it's not that. It's much,
Yeah.
much, much more than that.
It's way deeper.
Much, much more. Much, much deeper. Much deeper. I'll tell you a story. I have many, but I'll tell you one story. There was a young man that I've been working with for some time. And in my work, I was teaching them what a healthy relationship looked like and what it didn't look like. And somebody from Temple University said to me, "Can you come and tell us more about what you're doing?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I brought one of my players with me. I thought, let me just bring him. I think this will be good for him. This is a good experience. Go to Temple University, see it. So I get to Temple University, I'm sitting there, and it dawns on me, if this player can't say what I'm doing nothing. So I said,
Mm.
I looked at him and I say, Zay, you want to tell the people what we're doing? I said, how about you? You want to go up there and tell them first before I get up there? He said, yeah, I'll do it. He goes up there and he says, and this is unrehearsed, this is raw, you know what I mean? He goes up there in his own words, he was like, I'm really proud. I'm really proud of what we doing here because now seriously, I'm just gonna tell you like it is. He said,
I
I'm really
love it.
proud. I'm really proud of what we're doing because, you know, my dad hasn't been treating my mom right. My
Mm.
mom, and he starts talking and he's like, my dad hasn't been treating my mom right. And I learned that. And now I'm teaching my dad how to treat my mother.
Wow.
Hey, Nate. I was like, what? I was done.
That's
I was
powerful.
done. I was
That's
done.
powerful.
I was so done. I'm
That
like
says
looking
a
at him
lot.
going, I'm looking at him going like, what? And he went
Mm,
on to say, we've been having some trouble at home. And when Coach V came and talked to us about how women ought to be treated, I knew it was different. Because understand, he was change what we normalize. Let's talk
hmm
about it. His normal was his dad being a certain way toward his mom.
mm,
O.D.A.A.P comes in there and goes, no, that's not cool, dude. Now he's going back, Dad, that is not how you're supposed to be treating mom. It's wrong. But other than that, he wouldn't have known because, he would have thought that's how it, and ended up treating a woman the same, right?
mm.
As kids do, right? It's learned behavior. And so O.D.A.P, on top of everything else, is undoing that learned behavior that they're getting normalized at home, right? So he was a perfect example of this, unbeknownst to me. He had already taken what's been poured into him, and started changing the culture of his own home, unbeknownst to me, unbeknownst to me. And so when he came back and sat down, do you think I went up there and said anything? No. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's
That's what we
living.
do.
That's the proof right there.
That was the end
That's
for me.
so.
I didn't even speak. I don't even think I spoke. I was like, that's what we do.
Wow, that is powerful in so many different ways, and just I don't know. I kind of got goosebumps even listening to it, and just kind of hearing. I can only
I
imagine
was
in the
done.
room and just sitting there like, oh snap, because people come up there, they talk about their stuff, and oh, we do this and we da 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 da. But it's like I got proof. Like this is what we do. Go ahead and talk,
Like,
and
look,
that's
if you
powerful.
can't say it, if you can't say what I'm
Then what
doing
am I
nothing.
doing?
I'm
Right,
doing nothing. And
right, and
I didn't
that's
rehearse that thing. It's not so much like I just wanted to, I thought I was doing something, right? But I figured he'd say something. But when he said that, I was not ready.
mm,
I was
mm,
ready to go.
mm.
I think my body I started going under the table, literally, physically. I was like, what? You know what I mean? I was so taken back. And it's one of those things that sometimes, and this is for everybody, you never know how the impact you're having right away. You
Exactly.
don't know the impact you're having right away, so keep going. And that same young man, I just saw him the other day. I met his dad too. That was a whole nother thing. Hi, my son's told me a lot about you. I said, has he now?
So awkward.
Not awkward, but not. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, look,
But not like okay,
we all getting better around here. That's all that matters.
exactly.
We not holding you to a fault. You getting better, you learning. You may have not had the proper upbringing. So I love that though. I love that it's having that effect in that way where they're going out and almost being advocates on your behalf without you even knowing, really,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
doing the
Like
work.
exactly. And the vice president of my board, I met him in high school. Christian Santos was one of the first young men that I met and started working with.
Mm,
He came back, and now he's the vice president of my board. He's an eighth grade teacher in Boston, and
mm.
we call them O.D.A.P lifers. Call them lifers. The young men, and this is the honest God truth. Our retention is interesting because the young men that we work with and pour into, they come back. Well, like Christian became the vice president, but they end up coming back being advocates. They
Love
end
it.
up like when school is out, in college, they come back. What you doing? What we doing? And things of that nature. They know it's home. O.D.A.P is home.
I love
O.D.A.P is
that.
home. It's home. It's that safe place where it's okay to find out what makes me tick.
Right.
It's okay to deal with a trauma that I went through, and now, like Christian will tell you, what's the biggest thing that helped Christian was how he would treat women in the future. He
Mm.
realized he was going from girl to girl because of trauma in his own life. And he
Sheesh.
realized now, from our work together, it was stuff that was going on with him that he hadn't dealt with that would make him, this girl, collect bodies, as they say, which is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh,
Oh, it's
terrible.
terrible. Yeah, it's a thing though.
It is.
I say it's a thing. I remember I learned about that. Like we learned about the quote unquote body count before we learned about like bank accounts. Like that was the thing for young men. And
Mm,
it's when you look at it, it's terrible. You know what I mean?
mhm,
But that
mhm.
was the norm of like, yo, you only
Yeah.
got one girlfriend? Are you supposed to have like five, six? And you're like,
Mhm,
oh, all right, cool. And you use that as your standard, measure of
mhm.
being a man and masculine. And that's a whole just a whole thing, a whole nother topic. But I do have a question for you. Because again, you do a lot of work and you take on a lot, right? So how are you yourself, Coach V? How are you taking care of your mental health right in this season?
Well, I pray a lot, because I want to be able to know that what I'm doing is really something that I need to be and should be doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, excuse my phone there, but
That's fine.
I pray a lot, to make sure I'm doing the best thing for the people that I'm working with. Because one thing I really feel strongly about is that I really don't want to hurt my players, you know.
Mm,
So my faith is really huge for me, and making sure that I'm on the right path. And then I love to take walks. Believe it or not, my sanctuary is the football field. On the field, I feel like I'm taking care of myself. What I mean by that, if my players are in the middle of the grass, you doing drills and whatnot, just walking around the track and listening to music or something is a beautiful self-care for me. I'm in an environment I want to be in. I'm around the
mm,
people I want to be with, but at the same time, I have my space, my private space. You know, walking around the track with my earpods on, but I got my eyes on my prized possessions, if you will, which is doing life with my young men. So that's a beautiful space for me. It's a beautiful space for me. I like that a lot. So walks and prayer and things of that nature are very good for me.
that's good. I'm a big I don't know if I shared this with you before, but I'm very similar. Not in the sense of going to like the field or the court or anything, but I walk and pray in the morning.
Mhm.
Early mornings usually before anybody's up, and partially
Mhm.
because I got to take my dogs out. But the other part is I just like to be at that peace. For me, I'm able to walk and talk with God, and that like
Mhm.
is my peace area. That's like when it's quiet, nobody's out. I feel like
Yeah.
the world is
Yeah.
quiet and I get to have that time and just be myself. And I love that because I feel so peaceful in doing that. So I definitely um can kind of agree with you on that and kind of connect with you on that as well because I do, like I said, very similar. I love to walk and pray and just walk and talk or walk and have my AirPods on and kind of like space out and all type of different things. So I love that. I love that a lot. So as we are reaching towards the end of this episode, I want to make sure that I get out your contact information. How can people find you if they want to learn more about O.D.A.A.P?
Well, we're on Facebook as our complete name, which is big, but our name is what we do. We open doors,
Mm,
abuse awareness to make abuse awareness to the abuse in order to prevent it. So we're open door abuse awareness prevention.
I
So
love
we
that.
open door for abuse awareness in order to prevent it. So that's how you can put it. So open door abuse awareness prevention. That's what
Mm,
we are on Facebook. On Instagram and Twitter, our handles are O.D.A.A.P INC. So O.D.A.P Incorporated, basically INC. So, and our website is, as you can see, www.odaap.org.
Yep. So make sure y'all go over. Make sure y'all give them a follow on all those platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They have amazing content. They're always doing amazing work. Of course, if you want to learn more, make sure you go to the website and check out the website. I implore you to do that again because the work is incredible, and I wouldn't recommend anything that I don't think is incredible and people that are doing amazing work. So make sure you check that out. As we transition again to the close of the episode, you brought a quote with you, and you actually mentioned this quote several times during this episode. So I know that it means a lot to you, and it's something that you live by. It was quality over quantity. Can you dive a little bit deep into that and why you chose that quote?
You know, one thing I talked to you about before was the tyranny of the urgent.
I remember
right?
that.
We
Yeah,
all
yeah.
feel like we have to do so much all the time, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But it's better to do one thing well than try to do a bunch of things at once, right?
No,
So
you speaking
quality
to
over
me.
quantity means, yeah, quality over quantity means that, spending time doing that one thing well is very, very important. Some people, like one of the things about grants, for instance, that I can't quite get with is if you get a grant, you have to hit so many people, this, da, 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 da. You have a quota to make, you have a quantity to fulfill. That's not what we do. So if I'm offered a grant, I don't care how much it is, to hit so many people, I know I'm not going to make an impact that way, really. Not the impact I'm trying to make, a life-changing impact, right?
Because
There's a
you
lot of
chasing the numbers.
yeah, there's a lot of people to do that work. You know what I'm saying? I think we can afford O.D.A.A.P. We can afford to just make an impact as opposed to hit a quantity. And if that means that we stay
That's
with
good.
one person, one group, one team for the rest of our existence, then I guarantee you there's going to be a lot more impactfulness from that than saying, okay, we can spread, I mean, quality over quantity. If I get a grant that'll help me to continue quality stuff, then that's cool. But if it doesn't work well. It just doesn't
Mm,
work well for me. I'm not after the numbers. I'm after life changing impact, and I can't do that if it's not
well,
quality time and quality effort it put into it. So
right.
that's one of quality over quantity.
Yeah, and that's why I love you and I love everything that you do because your heart is there, your motives are pure, right? At the end of the day, we need money for
We
certain
do. We
things.
do. Trust me. Donate.
Yeah. Definitely donate, y'all, for sure. Definitely donate. And I'll be doing the same thing too as well. So I definitely want to add more value in that way. But I've been in those spaces, especially in that nonprofit space, where it's like
Oh
you
yeah.
have to chase the quota, and then
You have to.
it becomes less about the person, the child, the teen. And I've been in those places, and for me, it was very conflicting because I wasn't able to sleep at night. And I'm like, yo, I can't do this, God. And I remember at my last position, working for a nonprofit, kind of praying on that, like, yo, God, I can't do this. Like, I'm gonna have to flip some stuff upside down. I'm gonna have, and God transitioned me out of that position. But I remember what it was like when He seen these kids as numbers and
Oh
not
God.
people. Especially when they're
You know,
coming in, they have their issues, they're crying to you, they're pouring their heart out, and it's like you just see them as numbers. So I can respect and honor that you do that and that you see it that way because a lot of people don't. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of people don't. They
I'm
see
gonna
them
tell you
as
something.
news.
As soon as the money is over for that program, Nate, it's gone
Sheesh,
because there's no more money to support it. And the
sheesh.
girls, the guys that you started with and poured into, what happens to them? Oh, that program stopped. I think it's I think it's really bad to start with a kid and then walk
Stop.
away from it because money.
Yeah, I
You
can't. I
know,
can't do it.
I'd
I
rather
couldn't
just
do
stay
it.
with one kid. Like that's not
Yeah, I'd
good.
rather not even start or do something on my own or
That's true
something.
too.
I can't do it.
That's what I'm saying. I'd rather not even start.
Yeah, I can't do it. But no, I can really appreciate just your genuine heart and love for those young men and now those young girls that you'll be having the program for as well. So my last question for you for this episode here is what does change what we normalize mean to you?
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot right there because we normalize so many toxic things, right? There's a
Mm,
lot of toxic things that have been normalized. Even I say hurt people. We've heard that before, right? But just to narrow it
yeah.
down to one thing, if you will, here, um, I think the one thing when I think about changing what we normalize is just sitting with people is okay. Don't
Mm,
always think you got to do a lot with people. Sometimes your
I like that.
presence is enough. Change, it's not about how much you do for somebody. Sometimes it's just being there. I'll call a person that says, "Hey, I just called to listen." you know,
Mm.
or just visit with somebody. Like change that we have to do so much for people. Sometimes they just want you to be there. Like shut up and just be there. That's all
Mm.
Job wanted. That's all Job wanted. He didn't want you talking. Just sit there in the midst of his trials and his heart and just be quiet. Half the time you're
Just
trying
be.
to talk, you're wrong anyway. Just be quiet.
Wow, wow. That's man, that's really
Oh
good.
gosh.
Wow,
That's what
that's
I
really
do.
good.
That's what I do. If my young man is having a hard day and he and his feelings real hard, you think I talk? I just sit next to him.
That's so needed
And
though.
then
Like
I just sit next to him. I sit next to him, touch his leg, and go, I love you, baby, and leave.
I
You
don't
know what
want
I
people to
mean?
miss that, man. That's so
I'm,
important.
I'm
It's so
serious. You just
important.
sit with him. You just say, I'm here. I love you. I ain't got nothing else to say. Because the heart knows its own bitterness and no one shares its joy. You know how
Mm,
bitter that thing is to you. And people yapping at it. Sometimes you just need to be quiet.
mm. That's good. That's good. And man, that's wow. I don't want y'all to miss that. If you listening to this,
Well,
I don't
maybe
want you
they'll
to
get it on their
miss.
way home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you play this back, when you listen, when you watch it on YouTube, whatever it is, like make sure y'all catch that. Like, listen, sometimes it's not for you to try to give advice or insight or your wisdom. Sometimes it's really just to listen. Like, and I know that because one of my best friends, he calls me almost every day, and I don't get much words in. I just listen, and we be on the phone for like an hour, hour and a half, and he get everything out. Sometimes he's talking about some business stuff. Maybe he vent for a second and he jumped from this topic, but I've realized that he needs someone who actually listens because there's so much going on in his house where
Oof.
he doesn't have anybody that's going to sit and listen for 5 minutes.
Just think of a
And
15, 14-year, 16-year-old boy like that.
mm,
Same
mm,
thing.
mm.
To your point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. That's good. And even the thing that I teach now, I've been blessed to teach it to parents, but I'm also getting an opportunity very soon to teach it to educators. Is the concept of love that I broke down for you guys, which is listen, be open hearted, validate, and encourage.
Hmm.
But that listening piece is first. It's like you're trying to solve a problem, you haven't even listened. You're trying to give insight and advice, and you haven't even listened. It's pretty ignorant almost,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like it's a little self-absorbed in a way, but the power of just doing that, y'all. So I don't want y'all to miss that. I
Ooh,
know
I
I
like
kind
this.
of
Nate, I like this. Change what we normalize. Talk less and listen more.
hey, look, that's about to be a thing. Look, that's about to be a thing. I'm creating a movement with this change what we normalize thing. If y'all haven't
Hey,
noticed,
let's go.
and we're gonna change a lot of different things. And I love the idea that you do with the retreat. I would love to find out how to get an invitation, even if I got to pay for the next one. I would love to be there because I need
You
that
should come,
myself.
Nate. You'd love it. The coaches. Oh my gosh. Oh, the coaches. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I
Well, I
want to
can
come
talk
so
forever.
bad.
I can talk forever to you, but it's terrible. But I tell you one thing. I'm gonna say this one thing. When my coach came to my camp, he automatically had this whole list of everything the boys had to do and this, that, and the other. I turned to him and said, "You are relieved of your duties. You are no longer the head coach here. I am. Go, go." He went and got it. Let me tell you what he did. He got in the canoe and went down the river. He just he said, "Say less."
Right, say
Got
less.
in
I'm
the
good.
canoe and just disappeared.
Yeah,
And I was
just let them be. Like I would
like,
love to
"Go."
be a part of that and just go to
Yeah,
that. And I talked to you briefly about the conference idea I had where I want you to come and present. But I think that it's
yeah,
important
love to.
to just be like when have you been taught to just be like enjoy yourself? Like,
Me.
man, I can go down the rabbit hole with this stuff because I'm super passionate about it and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
learning
yeah.
it
I'm
every day
sorry. This is probably
myself.
going on way too long.
Oh no, 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 no. This is great. We're going to have to bring you back for a part two because there are some other things I want to talk to you about when we have more time. So I'm definitely going to bring back Coach V for another episode. She's now considered a change what we normalize an alumni, as is everybody that has joined in on the podcast. So again, I want to say thank you for your time. I love talking to you. I feel like we get closer every time we talk, and I definitely got to
Yeah.
make my way back out to you very soon now that I have the availability. Soon after the wedding, I'm gonna make sure I make it out there to
I
come
would
just check
love
y'all
that,
out.
man. I love
To
that. I
come
would
check
love
y'all
that.
out. Yeah. So Again, we appreciate you. We thank you. Look, y'all, make sure that you head over and go follow her at O.D.A.P on, I think it was Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention on Facebook. Hit the website up. Make sure you donate because she's doing incredible work, and the support is greatly, greatly appreciated. So, Coach V, again, thank you. I love you, and
I love you too.
we hope to have you back on here soon. So
All right.
we're out. This is another episode of Change, what we normalize. Make sure that y'all like, subscribe, share, leave a review. Send this to somebody that you love because these conversations are extremely valuable. And until next time, y'all, I love you, and we'll talk with y'all soon. Peace.
Peace out.